Welcome back to 1010's podcast. My name is Michael, and I'm here with Adam and Robbie. And on the phone, we have Mr. James Houghton. How are you, sir?
Very good. How are you guys doing?
Very good. I would say that you are, if I was going to describe you to our audience that don't know, you are probably the owner of the fastest front-wheel drive car around a racetrack anyway. I don't know on a drag strip, because you've probably never taken it on a drag strip, have you?
Not since it was doing high 13s on street tires with 200 horsepower.
At least in North America, he can probably claim that.
We'll go with that.
There's one that we, back and forth, William O. Young from PZ Tuning with the Vibrant car. That car is very fast as well, and it's going to World Time Attack this year. But, he beats me sometimes. We beat him sometimes. We have a good rivalry going on, that's for sure.
So you've got, for those that don't know, you have an Integra Type R.
Yep.
It's a K...
Ruined a perfectly good original Type R.
Are people mad about that? Do people get on you about that?
I kind of used to think that people would be mad, and I've legitimately never met a Type R owner that thought that it wasn't totally awesome what we've done with it. And we've chopped it up real good.
Oh, yeah.
This was a street-driven car first, right?
Yep. In fall of 2009, I had a 07 STI that I hated, and I sold it, and I'd had a Civic hatchback before with a Type R swap, and I wanted to get back into something like that. But I just wanted to start out with a real clean car, and I found this Type R that was pretty clean, and daily drove it for about a year. Well, I shouldn't say that. Winter and summer daily drove it for about a year, and then the next 2 summers daily drove it. So that was till the end of 2012. And then things were getting out of hand even before that, but then things got really out of hand.
So were you racing before you decided to build this car, or were you just doing street-driven stuff?
No, we started running Time Attack with it at the beginning of 2010, after only 6 months or so of ownership. We had just done some very minor mods, just, brakes and wheels and tires, and it came with lowering springs and Bilstein shocks when I got it. And we were just making some subtle rear spring changes and stuff like that. Just really trying to start out how you'd hope to teach other people to start out. Just very stock at the beginning, slowly build up, your confidence, your lap times, and everything like that. Coming down hopefully with your lap times, building up your confidence and the speed of the car. And really just getting a lot of seat time and getting really used to it at each step. Every time we made a change, we tried not to make too drastic of a change, and really tried to get used to it at that modification level, or whatever you want to call it. Sure.
Did you race the STI then before that?
A little bit. I ran one Time Attack event with it, and I did a few lapping days with it. It was an 07, and it had the famous cracked ringlands, but they never diagnosed it properly at the dealership. So they kept changing the turbo, and they'd pull a turbo off, and I wasn't a huge turbo guy, but I had seen them, and I kind of knew what shaft play and stuff looked like, and they're like, this turbo has too much shaft play, this is causing the problem. And I'd look at it and I'd be like, that's kind of like how a normal bushing turbo works. And they would change it, and it would do nothing, and it would continue to burn oil and smoke on startup. And, we would just move on with our, go until I would get fed up and call them again and complain again. And then they would do another diagnosis and change the turbo again. It had 46 or 47,000 kilometers on it before they finally pulled the motor out of the car, and the piston came out in 2 pieces.
Oh.
Well, the main part of the piston was intact, but the side, the ringland area of the piston just fell out when they took the piston out. And I'm like, wow, no wonder it was smoking at 1,000 kilometers on the odometer.
People joke about that, but I guess, I don't know, I didn't take it like that seriously. People make jokes about everybody's failings in their motors, whether they be minor, so I guess I never really thought that ringland issue was that serious.
Yeah, they showed me the piece of the piston that fell out when they pulled the piston out of the car. They were like, yeah, here it is.
Here it is. There you go.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Sorry. And then they're like, we're going to, then Subaru of Canada, who I'm not friends with at all, tried to say that we had modified the vehicle and stuff like that. It had an axle back exhaust, which they told me was completely fine. But for some reason, my car was a freak and made 1.5 pounds more boost than they were supposed to. And they're like, well, you flashed this car, it has no warranty. And I'm like, I promise you that this car has never been flashed. And if it doesn't make boost, that's because your ECU doesn't control boost very well. And so we went back and forth for a bit. Then the engine department of Subaru Canada went on vacation for 2 weeks. And by the time I finally got the car back, it was like 8 or 9 weeks. I'd missed it for, basically the whole summer.
Oh my gosh.
And when I found out at the end, when they about a week after I picked up the car, they said, bring it back and we just want to check everything over. And I was talking to the mechanic and he's like, does it feel faster than it does before? I'm like, well, yeah, it was hurt before. And he's like, no, he's like, more than that. And I'm like, I don't know, why? He's like, well, this is a bigger motor than your old one. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, this has bigger pistons than a factory one. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They said they were putting a brand new motor in. He's like, no, we couldn't get a brand new motor. So he's like, we just overboard this and put oversized pistons in it. And that was when I was like done with Subaru forever. I'm like,
that's
this is
weird.
terrible.
That is not what you signed up for.
Waited all those weeks and, fought back and forth. And then you just did something that you could have done the first week.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it. I'm no longer friends. And I'm going to tell every single person that ever tells me they're thinking of buying a Subaru that story.
See, yeah, we hear a lot about this here where we are in Iowa because there's a really big Subaru following here. And so I've heard stories of people, they won't go to the local Subaru dealership here because they're so terrible. I've heard stories of them, somebody brings in a car for a warranty or a recall, like a recall or some sort of minor safety bulletin, and it is a modified car, and they know it's a modified car, but they have held people's cars hostage on a lift while they called Subaru North America to report the modifications on this car so that they could potentially void any future warranty claims.
Yeah,
it's a weird dichotomy with Subaru because Subaru needs people like you guys that mess, or not you anymore, but people that mess with Subarus to buy STIs and WRXs and stuff because they love them because they can modify them, but at the same time they're dicks about it.
And I followed the rules completely. Like I put a set of wheels and tires on it. I put a set of 17x9s and some 245. The predecessor to the RE71, the RE01R.
Yeah.
And bought a set of coilovers, a bigger rear sway bar, axle back exhaust, just the things that they said that they were totally fine with, and I'd completely followed the rules. It would have been nice to put a turbo back and a flash on it and stuff like that, and I'm like, no, I'm going to completely follow the rules because warranty is cool. I liked it. And it turns out I would have rather just paid to have the motor, refreshed than wait all summer making crazy, payments on it and driving around in an automatic, 08 Subaru Impreza wagon that had, the name of the dealership courtesy vehicle on the back window.
How depressing. Holy cow.
Oh,
yeah, that's an expensive Impreza.
Like such a rude person, like just the worst driving. And I was hoping so much that they would call me and say, please stop driving our vehicle like this. And I was just hoping they would do that so I could say, give me my car back so I can drive my own car like this. They never called. I assume that they probably got a call in at some point and they're like, we probably should.
We're not calling that guy.
No, we can't say that.
So you got the Subaru back, you got rid of that, and then you got the Type R. So, I mean, your transition from driving the STI and racing the STI to racing the Integra was kind of, that's a pretty steep trajectory to some extent. Because it sounds like you went from kind of, you did time attack in the STI to really getting after more serious time attack racing in the Integra.
Well, the story about how that happened, so I was looking for some, cool lapping days and stuff to go to. And we had got kind of the car ready for the track, how I felt like it would work, pretty good. And I went to this event called Sigma Time Attack, which is no longer around. And I was looking at their info online, and it was like the price of a regular lapping day. They had 2 classes, and if you won either of those classes, you got your entry fee back, and they provided lunch. And I was like, why would I go to a lapping day? I could go to this Sigma thing. And I'd, talked to a few people who sounded like they really enjoyed it. And I was like, talked to a couple of buddies and another friend of mine, Eric Levine of Levine Motorsports, who does, all the engine, cage work, fabrication, pretty much everything on my car now. He had been prepping a car for lapping as well back then. And he was like, well, let's do it. And we went. And I was so intimidated. There were so many really cool cars there, but it was a really tight technical track that we were going to. But I didn't know because I hadn't even been out lapping with the car at this point. So I see all these cars that I think, are fast, and think, oh man, I'll be lucky to be mid-pack here. And I turned a ton of laps that day, and I just kept going down and down and down with my lap times. And by the end of the day, I think I qualified either first or second, and I ended up posting fastest time of the day. Nice. And I was kind of hooked after that. I was like, this is super cool. Like this, I got lunch, and my entry fee was free. I'm like, we got to make this car even faster and better and make all the little improvements that we can on it.
So what do you think was the differential for you then to be that fast out of the gate with that car?
I don't know. Yeah, I hate, sometimes people just say it's, kind of bred into you a little bit. My dad and some of his brothers have raced, and my dad's dad raced and built race cars, and, I was just always brought up around it. From the time I could drive, I would drive the racing line through every on and off ramp that you could drive on the highway. And, when I went go-karting with friends and stuff like that, I always took it very seriously. And, when I started getting into tracking my own car on the track, I think I understood kind of what, where you needed to place the car. I was very aware of, what gear you should be in, where the car should be, braking as late as possible, getting back into the, the throttle as early as possible. And I think the one thing was I just never had, maybe as much fear as some of the people that I was competing against. So, I could spend all my time just trying to, figure out the best line, figure out the best braking point, and I wasn't overcoming the fear of going around a certain corner too fast or anything like that. So I think that was always just I was kind of lucky to have that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, living where we do, you live in a similar climate. You get some different driving experience when you drive on ice and snow. I mean, even though obviously when you're on a track, you're looking for grip and not, trying to do drift things or anything stupid like that. But you get a different feel for car control than somebody that lives in LA, for instance.
I agree 100%.
Because I don't know about you guys. My first car was rear-wheel drive. So I had to, and I had to drive it, it wasn't a truck or anything. It was that Thunderbird that probably never really talked about. But you had to learn how to drive rear-wheel drive, not a lot of power, but on gravel roads that were icy and, bad weather and all that. And you just learn a little bit different about how to, counteract oversteer and things like that.
It says a lot about my first car, but it didn't make it to the winter.
You crashed it before the winter?
Well, I did crash it, but that didn't break it. That wasn't what ended it because it was a boat. I had a 70 Mercury Montego for my first car. It was
baller?
Yeah.
Is that the word you're looking for?
It was something. But
that's epic.
My first winter was front wheel drive, and I've been in that ever since until I got my little S10 that I'm in now. But even in those situations, you still can get, that back end can still come around on you.
Or you understand.
It's good to know.
You understand an exaggerated form of understeer. Like if you just barrel way too fast into a corner, you just go, oh shit,
That was my everyday in my Audi. Talk about exaggerated understeer. Good God. Worst car ever.
How was the RAV4 in the snow, Robbie?
Oh, it's great.
Was it fantastic?
It was like it was made for it.
It kind of was.
It's just an all-wheel drive RAV4, so I don't know. Learned how to drift around corners.
True. So did you get into a time attack series after that, James? Or how did you transition into, I mean, obviously people know probably a lot of what you're known for is, in the Gridlife time attack series now. But how did you go from, that time attack track day to being more of a consistent driver in a race series?
So we ran the rest of the year that year in Sigma, and I won, I think, most of them. I think I won all but one. And Sigma was kind of, for me, seemed like a little bit more entry level than our local CSCS series, which, looking back, we do very well in the CSCS series now, but looking back, it was just kind of scary. There was more K-swapped Hondas in street class and stuff like that. My car, was a stock motor, 205 tire Integra Type R. It wasn't a very intimidating car. But at the end of the year, all the Sigma events were done, and the car was, still great, and I was looking for more events. And so we decided to go out to the the finale of the CSCS series, and which is the Canadian Sport Compact Series. And they're still in existence. We still run their events, all their events every year. And so we went out to that event, and I didn't expect much. I thought, well, if we could podium or something like that, it would be pretty cool. I knew of some of the cars that were going, and there was a K-swap Type R and a K-swapped Civic hatchback, and I knew both guys had been competing for a while and was kind of intimidated. And so we go out, and the way they did the timing at that event, it was kind of confusing to know kind of where you were placing or anything like that throughout the day. So I was just out, turning laps all day and just getting as comfortable as I could with that track, which I hadn't run very much. And at the end of the day, we ended up first place in street front wheel drive with a new street front wheel drive record against those, more highly modded cars. And I was like, okay, this is, I was feeling more confident then. The other event, the other events we were running, I wasn't as sure about, what those wins meant. But to me, when we were doing better at CSCS, I was like, well, okay, well, now we're doing well against some of the fastest front wheel drive cars in time attack in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So by then the car was, we had tracked it a lot that summer. It was starting to burn a lot of oil, and, we kind of started to look at what our plan was for the next year. And so I wanted to make the car a little easier to drive, so I put a pair of Sparco buckets in it. And we didn't do too much with the suspension. The suspension was pretty good, but we wanted to freshen up the motor, so we refreshed the motor with higher compression pistons and different cams and stuff like that. It made about 20 wheel horsepower more than it did previously. And we went out to all of the Sigma events the next year and all of the CSCS events the next year, and won and set the class record every single time we went out. We went to 3 other local events and won and set track records at those events as well. So I think we had, 11 events or 12 events that we participated in that year, and, whatever it was, 11 or 12 class records as well. And then we were like, okay, this is cool, but now we were looking for the next challenge, because it's like we've run all these events, we had people that were reasonably close sometimes, but mostly we were having some pretty good gaps from first to second. So the next year we decided that it was time to maybe bump up to unlimited, because the times that we were posting in street class, so in CSCS they have street, super street, and unlimited, and the times we were posting in street class beat super street at CSCS at every event that year. So we were like, what's the point in bumping up to super street? At that time, I don't think the Hankook TDs that were kind of the for a few years there, the tire to be on in, Global Time Attack, limited class, or CSCS Super Street. So we were like, we're just going to make the move from, RS3s to NT01s, and we weren't going to be changing that much else on the car to go to Super Street. I was like, what, let's skip it. Let's go straight to unlimited with this car. Still going to be my daily driver. We'll swap tires at the track, and we'll just try to get it as dialed in as we can. And we decided at that point to do a K24 swap on the car. And that helped a lot, lots more usable power. We were able to use a pretty stock motor, so we didn't have to worry too much about, any built motor issues and stuff like that. And we ended up doing well again that season. We didn't win every event, but we ended up winning the CSCS Unlimited Front Wheel Drive Championship, and I still drove the car every day on the street. We ended up with some front wheel drive records at some of our local tracks, with this street-driven, I was still, like, dailying it to work and everything like that. So it was that was probably, one of my most fun years in Time Attack, because it was a lot, a lot of reward for not, a crazy amount of work. The car was super reliable. We weren't doing much on it between events. Just go to the track and swap tires and hope for the best.
You didn't even put a cage in the car for a long time, did you?
No, it wasn't. We put a roll bar in it.
Adam Jabay is shuddering somewhere.
What's that?
Adam Jabay is shuddering somewhere.
Yeah. So before we went to Super Lap Battle at the end of 2013 out in California, we decided that it would be time to put a roll bar in then. This was after it was supercharged, after we were going, much, much faster than we had gone NA. And so we decided to put a roll bar in then. And we went to Super Lap Battle. And I think that's where things kind of changed for us. We hadn't run an event in the U.S., and we decided to go to, maybe one of the biggest time attack events in North America after never running anything outside of Ontario, Canada. And we went and ran on Nito NTO1s and limited front wheel drive. And we got annihilated by like 3 seconds. And I was like, I wasn't sure that we were going to win, but I was pretty confident that we would be fairly competitive. And we just got annihilated. And we came back, and we were kind of unsure, about where we were going to go next. And we ran just local again in 2014. We didn't go to any U.S. events in 2014. And we just we didn't develop the car that much in 2014. We just we were running it locally. We were still doing well locally. And we were just kind of figuring out where we wanted to go, what we wanted to do, what kind of improvements that needed to be made with the car. And in the winter of 2014, 2015, things started to get more out of hand again. We stripped it out more, tried to get more weight out of the car, finished the cage, and, we attached, we built off the roll bar and turned it into a full cage. And we went to Road Atlanta for Global Time Attack. That was our first event of the year in 2015, and we got the limited front wheel drive record by almost 2 seconds on our first day. It was a 2-day event. We had an engine failure at the end of the first day, and we knew that we had probably another 2 seconds in the car still.
Jeez.
And all of a sudden we were really pumped about time attack again, because we knew we probably could have beaten that record by around the 4-second mark. And we were like, this is good. The changes we had made to the car, we had made a bunch of changes to make, even though we were putting the full cage in it, we made the car way lighter. We made other small aerodynamic improvements and stuff like that. And that's the event where we met the guys from Professional Awesome. And then we started really learning about aero and suspension setup and everything like that. And we made a lot of improvements. Not so much. We were starting to make improvements kind of at the end of that season, but we weren't super, super close with the guys yet. We had just kind of, we were still friends. I would chat with them sometimes. And throughout the winter of 2016 or 2015, 2016, and then throughout the 2016 season, we started working a lot more with them, making a lot of changes to the car, and our level of development has been pretty steep since, I guess, 2015. We made huge leaps in 2014-15 winter before we did that record at Road Atlanta. And 2 years after that, when we were there this spring, we went 8 seconds faster than that 132 we posted in 2015. So we went from a 132.6 to I believe a 124.3.
That's amazing.
So,
that's like a year in racetrack time.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a particularly fantastic year this year. We didn't end up getting the record. Our main competitor, William, he got the record at that event. So we had a few issues. We had some transmission troubles and stuff like that. And so we know that there's even more time in it. So the idea of us feeling pretty good about that 132 and then going 8 seconds faster than that with more left on the table is pretty phenomenal when you really think about it.
Definitely kind of gives you some hope for going back and getting after it again.
Yeah.
Gives you something to work towards.
And I made a post the other day, or it might have been in comment or something like that on Facebook, but in 2014 we were kind of, when we weren't increasing that much and improving our lap times that much, and we weren't running too much in the US, we were kind of like, what if this is kind of, what if we can't make the car that much better than this? And now we've gone, at some tracks like almost 10 seconds faster than that. Actually, more than so. At Super Lap Battle from the fall of 2013 to last fall when we were there, we went over 12 seconds faster.
Holy cow!
That's crazy.
And the car was, a less than stock weight, K-swapped, clutch type diff, supercharged, 460 wheel horsepower, Integra Type R. In 2013, it wasn't a piece of garbage or anything like that. It it was a car that you'd go to a lot of events and, people would be like, oh, wow, this is a crazy machine. And we went 12 seconds faster than that.
So is that mostly aero?
I think it's everything. I think, when you get a car that is just confidence inspiring to drive and there's more than just, the aero is huge. It's definitely one of the biggest things. But when you start getting the chassis balance a lot better, wheels and tires and all that kind of stuff, brakes, like it's just the whole package. When you get a car that feels good and feels easy to drive and, isn't getting a bunch of crazy oversteer or something, anything like that, I think that it's amazing how much time you can start taking off. I think the one of the biggest things is, and I have a lot of people talk to me about this, and we talk to a lot of different front wheel drive guys, and a lot of people think that even when you're dealing with a very fast front wheel drive car, you still need to have a lot of lift off oversteer and stuff like that. And I'm completely against that. I think when you have a car that you're trying to go some of the fastest lap times in the country in time attack, not the fastest, but up there, you have to have a car that basically doesn't do anything. It can't understeer, it can't oversteer, it can't do anything. It just has to be dialed and not moving around underneath you. You have to be able to drive that car more like you'd see a GT3 spec car drive. You see those guys drive. There's not a lot of cranking on the wheel and oversteering and trying to catch the car in a slide or anything like that. They just drive the car. And I think when you can get the car to the point that it starts doing that, I think you're going to find a lot of time. Maybe in a slower car where you're running street tires and stuff like that, your slip angles might still have to be greater. But I think once you're running in slicks and once you're running really fast lap times with ludicrous cornering speeds, I don't think you can have a car that's so loose and getting its cornering speed from rotation. I think it just has to get its cornering speed from its mechanical grip and aero grip.
Yeah, we're 100% with you. We're against slip angle on this show, so
Yeah, for sure.
Zing.
that's a test to see if Jabez is actually listening.
We're gonna get a naughty or a dirty text message for sure. He's
That's
gonna be
all right.
upset about it.
It's a fun surprise.
It's worth it. So, now I lost my train of thought.
That's all right. I can go.
Thanks a lot for that. Let's talk about these ludicrous cornering speeds, as you've put it. When you're in that car, I mean, I know you only do, even 3 or 4 laps in a session is probably quite a few for you. But do you feel that? Are you sore when you get out of that car from the G load?
Not at all. No. It's the best way I can describe it is, a couple of years ago when the G load wasn't as crazy and when the car wasn't going, even from, let's say, Gridlife at Gingerman in 2016 versus 2017, our time was still pretty good in 2016. We did a 31.6 or something like that. I think we did. And
I
it
thought
was
that
fast,
was incredible that year. So
it was fast, but it just seemed good. You know what I mean? Like it just seemed kind of what you'd expect. Kind of felt like what you expect a good car to feel. When I went through on my fastest lap, when I went through turn 8-9 combination at Gingerman, where there's the really long right and then the really long left.
Yep. Okay.
I'm driving through that, and I'm literally thinking, while I'm taking this corner, this seems faster than I should probably be going. But the car doesn't do anything at all. It's not moving around. It's not sliding. It's just like I'm literally driving the car thinking, this seems really fast. So when you're driving and, you're in the middle of a lap, you know that the car is doing a lot of G's when you're like, I can't believe how fast I'm going through this corner. And you're able to take time and think about that, which you shouldn't be. I'm not encouraging anyone to think about things like that while they're driving. Think about what you're doing. But oftentimes I've driven through a corner and, either during it or right after it, I'm like, that was crazy.
I suppose that means you could go faster, right?
I guess it's so hard to know with this car. We fairly consistently see peak Gs of over 3. The highest we've seen is 3.3 laterally. And we're seeing, fairly consistent low 2s to 2.5, 2.6 Gs sustained laterally, which is just, I haven't talked to hardly any people that have seen, lateral G's like that in the time attack world. So
Yeah.
And the problem is with a car that the cornering speeds are that high, if you do have a little wiggle or anything like that, it's going to be pretty bad. You're not going to be able to catch it. So
No.
You really try to, it's a tough line to kind of fight to get right to the edge of that grip level. And that's where, some of the pros that come back and drive time attack cars, sometimes they have, I feel like they have a better idea of what a car can do. And I feel like I have a pretty good idea of this. We're, turning some pretty fast lap times and stuff like that. But it's so hard when a car has that much grip, when you're seeing peaks of over 3, how hard to know to throw it in a corner, especially, with these time attack cars the way they are now. They're so on the edge, like you can't go out for a half an hour session and just play with it. You're kind of, like we were at Gridlife Midwest. We were hoping for the best Saturday morning, and I had turned 1 or 2 laps on Friday in practice, kind of seeing where the car was at, and we put fresh tires on Saturday morning, and I basically just go around there and guess what the car can do.
It's very similar to autocross in that respect, I think.
I think
you may have an idea what the course is at least, so you know that much, but from there up, it's anybody's guess. So
I think that's very true. So we're trying to take a good educated guess, and sometimes you might not send a car into the the beginning of a corner quite as hard as you can, but you try to get back on the gas and use as much of the track as possible, because sometimes when you're just on a bonsai lap, you just don't know what you can really do.
So when you ran this year at Midwest, you ran a 1:27.8, correct?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
What do you remember when that lap was? Was that end of the day, Saturday? Was it Sunday morning?
There was a lot of drama there, so I remember everything.
Oh,
about
great.
that.
Okay.
So we turned a 1:30.1 at the special stage event there last fall, a couple weeks before we went out to Super Lap Battle. We wanted to use that, not just as a test. We liked the event as well, but we found that track was, for tracks that are reasonably close by, the best test that we could have for Buttonwillow. So we went out there, we did a 1:30.1. We felt pretty good about that.
So you knew going into it then that you were going to be faster this year. I mean, that was clear at that point.
Yeah, we knew we were going to go faster, but it's tough to tell, when you're already one of the fastest cars that's ever gone around a racetrack. You make changes that you think should be 2.5 seconds faster, but can you really go 2 seconds faster than anyone in a production car has ever gone around a track before? You kind of hope you can, but then you always are kind of second guessing yourself, because you're like, how fast can a front wheel drive car go around a track? So we got there, on Thursday night or whatever. We got there super late. I got we got almost no sleep at all. I got an hour and a half of sleep on Thursday night before practice on Friday. We went out on Friday. We were having a ton of stupid little issues. The car is kind of starting to oil slosh from, too much lateral G's and not having a dry sump setup. And we were fighting with, a few other little issues and stuff like that. So we still managed, one of our first laps to go, I think, about a half a second or 0.4 faster than we did last year. And we were having issues on that lap. So I was feeling pretty confident that we would go, at least into the 28s. We had brought a fresh set of tires, and we were using our old tires still. So I was, pretty confident that we'd be able to do that. So we worked on a few of the little issues that we were having on the car, and we went back out for the second practice session and broke the trans. And it was like, oh man, this is terrible. I was, we were hoping to have, it's such a fun event. You hope that you can just have a fun weekend and not a weekend filled with working through issues. You hope, have a weekend filled of hanging out and seeing all that Gridlife has to offer.
Right. So
we were hoping to fix our trans that was in the car. So we, my friends and, my crew, or whatever you want to call them, pulled the trans out of the car. We pulled the trans apart, identified what the problem was. John at TRE, Team Rip Engineering, thought that might be able to do might be able to fix the problem that we had there. It ended up being too severe to fix it. We ended up going to our backup transmission, and by the time we got back and got kind of figured out what we were going to do and stuff like that, it was super late. Like the sun was coming up, and I had to tell Eric, I had to say, we have to go to the backup trans. I said we weren't able to fix the other transmission. I said, John TRE is going to get that working great, and we now have the transmission back, and everything looks fantastic, and we can't wait to get it back in the car. It should work super great. It's been a pleasure working with John. But that night we didn't have what we needed to make that happen. So I was super bummed because my main competitor had gone even faster in practice than I had, and we were pretty confident that this would be a good event for our car. We thought that we might have the edge here, and when we had to go into that night knowing that we were going to make the car worse with our backup trans because the gear ratios weren't right, it was kind of a bumper. I was kind of didn't know what to think, didn't know if we would have a chance at doing the best we could, and didn't know if I had a chance at even getting first in unlimited front wheel drive, let alone first overall. So I told Eric at 5:30 in the morning, after I had only slept an hour and a half the night before, I told him that he would have to get up early and get the spare transmission in the car. I said, because our first session is at 10 a.m. and on a summertime event, your best chance at going the fastest is going to be first session. So I went to bed and tried to get some sleep. So I slept for about 3 hours, kind of off and on. And a couple of times they had to wake me up and ask, clarify a couple of things. So I wake up for day 2 of Gridlife now with 4.5 hours of sleep over the course of 2 nights, which was is not the way you want to do.
That's not
not the way you want to prep for trying to set a lap record.
Yeah, that's not enough.
No, it's definitely not enough. Like when you wake up and your eyeballs hurt and you feel sick to your stomach and everything like that, you're like, this is, and that you're not happy with the transmission that's in the car, and you're just kind of like bummed out in general. You're not feeling, the way you want to feel when you're going out to, try to set a really fast lap. And I was getting buckled in the car that morning while the guys were still, finishing putting the splitter and the bumper and stuff back on. We were getting called to grid. I think they were doing like final call to grid, and we were backing out of our pit area and headed up to the line. And it's tough when sometimes when I'm on a track that I don't run all the time, we don't like to run the timer on in the car. So I had all the timing off in the car. William was gridded first because he had gone faster on day 1. And his car is just an absolute rocket on the straight. That car makes like 180 wheel horsepower more than mine does.
Wow.
I remember watching that car go by. Oh my God.
That?
I remember watching that car go by on the front straight. It is so fast.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. And it's really hard that makes it really hard to judge kind of where you're at on your lap compared to where he's at.
You guys are faster in different places.
Yeah, and he pulls like a ton of cars on the back straight. Not like 1 or 2, like 7 or 10 type of thing. Like it's really it's obnoxious. It makes you look like you're kind of driving an NA car, not a 598 wheel horsepower car. So, we go out for our warm-up lap, and he goes at it coming out of the second to the last corner down the back straight, kind of finishing up his warm-up lap, and I'm like, oh my God. I hadn't been close to him like that for a while, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. Is my car broken? Like, how is he pulling so much? So we get into the last corner, and, I try to put all that out of my mind and just set up for the lap. And I go out there, and it feels like I'm kind of catching him in some spots. Some of the high-speed sweepers, it feels like I'm catching a lot. We get out onto the back straight, and I'm like, there's no way I've caught up enough to make up for what I've just seen here. This was just obnoxious. Like, it's not even right. And so we come around for a second lap, and, I'm going to try to go as fast as I can again. And I think that we might have been on track to go even a little bit faster on lap 2. And I just got overwhelmed with it. And coming out of, I believe it's turn 6 that's straight across from the tower, I just tried to get into the gas. You're always trying to get into the gas as early as possible because that's one of the best ways to find speed on a lap. And I got into the gas a little bit too early. And I realized I was going to drive, probably put 2 wheels into the grass on the exit, maybe even worse. and there's a pothole at the end of the rumble strip coming out of that corner. And at the last minute, I'm like, you know what? I don't really want to drive, through this pothole with these, the underbody aero that we have and the, fairly new wheels and stuff that we have on there. So I hook a right-hand turn and go bounding through the grass to try to avoid this pothole. And I think we still did something like a 29.4 or something like that on that lap.
Wow.
And I drove probably 40 or 50 feet out into the grass on that lap.
Man.
So I was super bummed. I came back in. The car was getting fairly hot that weekend. We've made some changes since then. The car's running cooler. But the car was getting really hot that weekend, so I finished that lap. Came in and, I did a cool down lap and came in. And my buddies are like the worst for like playing games with me, especially when they know that I don't have the lap timer turned on in the car. And I pulled in and they knew that I did the 27 right away. And they straight faced me like you can't believe. Like they were there as soon as I pulled off the track and they walked with me back to the pit. And I'm starting to get out of the car. And I don't know how fast I'm going to go. I know that I did a 29.8 yesterday. If you told me that I did a 28.9, I probably would have been pretty happy, right? I didn't really know what to expect. And they're like, I forget what Will did that morning session. I think Will did a 28.4, and they're like, Will did a 28.4. And I'm like, unbelievable. We've worked so hard, and he's gone that fast. And I was very impressed with his ability. That was a 28.4 at Gingerman, no matter what class you're in, no matter what day it is, a 28.4 is a fast lap at Gingerman.
Yeah.
And they just kind of looked at me for a second, and they didn't tell me. What
And
they're just like, Will did a 28.4, and they just looked at, I'm sure the look on my face was just of absolute, disgust, sadness, everything, every sort of bad emotion you could have. And they let me to the point where I probably was like almost ready to have a tear. And they're like, and you did a 27.8. And I like cheered. I probably made the initial cheer was probably 15 seconds long. Like I was out of breath by the time I was done with that. I was running around our pit like an idiot. I was so pumped. I was like, we've never done a 28 before. Like literally the car at that point had never done a 28 at Gingerman, but it had done 29s and a 27.
Jeez.
Incredible.
So it was, to not know what to expect and not know how hard to drive the car, to see his car disappearing down the straights and try to, not let that play in your mind too much was super, super exciting. So it was, that's cool. I think that, when you look at other production car lap times and stuff like there, that's it. That's pretty much the fastest not pretty much, that's the fastest any production-based car has ever gone around there. So to do that with the circumstances, on a backup trans, on, a couple hours of sleep, that was probably one of my most proud laps that I've ever done.
So you think the other trans has more in it? Just
for
better
sure
gear ratios and stuff like that?
The main problem with what we had in versus what we normally run is we normally run a super tall third gear, so we can run a lot of horsepower in third, and it really pulls us off the corner well. So this other trans has a very short third gear, and we have to pull a ton of horsepower out of the tune to get the car to not wheel spin. So it has two things. First of all, you're pulling a bunch of power out, and second of all, it makes the gap from third to fourth ginormous, and the car doesn't really pull that hard when you go from third to fourth. So it's kind of a double negative. And Gingerman has a whole bunch of corners where you need to have that long third and need to be able to really pull your way out of that corner. Like there's almost every corner we come out of in third, like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 5, or I guess I don't know if it's turn 5 or turn 6 or whatever one is right
gets
across
a little
from the tower
confusing
there,
in the back
one.
there.
Turn 6 or 7, going out onto the back straight, coming onto the front straight. Every single one of those corners we used third gear, and we had the wrong third gear in it. So it's super exciting, whenever we go back there, we try to make improvements to this car all the time, plus a big one like that.
So there could be potentially a lot of time on the table then.
You
don't want to jinx it. You don't want to say it.
I
get it, but
I hate to say lap times, but whatever. Who cares? There's probably a 26 out there in a front-wheel drive car.
That's
a crazy
weird
thought.
to say.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'd have to go back and look at the times, but I don't think anybody else, everybody else was 28, right? Smedgard he ran a 28, I think.
Yep. Will ended up doing a 28.2.
Okay, so he was down there.
Yeah, Andy went higher 28s. Robert Thorne in the S2000 went low 29s. So there was like a ton of cars faster than the previous production, faster than the previous, whatever you want to call it, time attack record.
Sure.
So that's a pretty exciting event when 4 cars beat the old record.
Yeah, it is. So what do you foresee then as the future of your team and your racing?
It's tough. We just keep trying to improve the car, as efficiently as we can all the time. It's not a big budget team. We don't have a crazy amount of money to buy everything that we want. We run on old tires all the time to try to conserve. We just try to keep on finding as much speed as we can, without spending a ton of money. And, we've been pretty good about that, so far.
Do you have any tips, I guess, for people that are in similar situations or people that want to get more into time attack as far as having a grassroots team and kind of growing that effort?
First of all, I think that people need to have more seat time in a car that's not that crazy. You need to have a bunch of seat time in a car that will allow you to have a bunch of seat time. If I had to try to develop my skills in this car now that does, 10 laps per weekend, you never improve. You never learn anything. I feel like I learn less every year now than I did probably in my, my whole first year of time attack. I probably learned less in the past 3 or 4 years because you just don't get to turn that many laps. And, you're taking sometimes more educated guesses than you are just, feeling the car out and seeing what it does in different circumstances. So I think the main thing is, I won't tell everyone that you have to start with a slow car because some people are just plain not going to start with a slow car. They're, bound and determined to buy something that's, faster and more fun or whatever. But get a car that's reliable enough that you can go out there and you can do long sessions and you can do a ton of sessions. And, mod the car to whatever point, use whatever tires that you can use. If you can afford to run, buy a new set of tires 3 times a year or whatever, so be it. Do it, but run that car and run it a lot. Make sure, at the same time though, make sure you're trying to make, talk to a good coach, talk to someone that knows more and try to make sure that you're not developing bad habits. But I think that it's really important to turn a ton of laps.
No, it makes sense.
I think that, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that makes perfect sense.
And I think the second part is, if you want to build a crazy car and you don't have, a couple of friends or, a mechanic or someone like that that's really willing to support you and is willing to come to a lot of your events and is willing to work on your car the night before an event and stuff like that. If you don't have that, don't build a crazy car. I know so many people that, have gone to shops, have had a crazy car built. Things go wrong with it at the track. They don't know what to do and they have no fun and they park the car out and they're out of time attack. Don't go there. There's so many great classes to run a car that's not super crazy. You can have so much fun. There'll always be new competitors coming out, even in street and in track mod, stuff like that. There's always new cars coming out. And, you just don't need to have a crazy car to have a lot of fun.
We've said that about autocross or HPDE cars. I mean, people will build a car that's 450, 500 horsepower. It's got 20 pounds of boost on it, and it never works. They're always screwing with it.
Yep.
And that is not, to me, that's not fun. You get one lap in on your 500 horsepower, you name it, whatever, and it breaks, and then you have to spend the next 3 months fixing it or whatever, or chasing some boost leak or something like that. That doesn't seem to be an enjoyable aspect of the hobby. Wouldn't you rather have something that's 300 horsepower and it works consistently?
Exactly.
That's where I come from.
The problem is we're not very good at following our own rules sometimes because we don't have the most reliable cars in the world. But
that's reliable.
That's all right.
Hey, Robbie got rid of his SR20 though.
Yeah,
it's true.
He threw that thing away.
Yeah, to be at that.
Robbie's
level.
in a good spot.
I can go to my garage and start my car at any time now.
And he didn't do anything stupid to it, like put a bigger cam in it or
no,
put a twin turbo setup on it.
Yet
He's trying to He's trying to live that
I
philosophy.
just want to drive it.
Oh, I get it. After a year of having my car parked, that's all I wanted to do this year.
Yep.
So I get it.
So anyway, I kind of interrupted you there. Are there any other challenges that you kind of have some advice for people on as far as grassroots running your own team and trying to get into more competitive racing?
I think that another big thing is people want to build a crazy car, and I think they don't really realize how much it's going to cost to run that car. They think, well, I've got 20 grand. I'm going to put 20 grand into the car. I'm going to build a beast of a car this winter. For us people that are more in the north anyways, I'm going to spend 20 grand on the car this winter. It's going to be a beast. They go out to the first event, break a diff, break whatever. Now they're not running anymore. And it's like, take 10, take 5, put it in the car, and keep 10 or 15 for running the car throughout the year, because things are going to happen. You go to a time attack event, even stock cars are acting up and breaking. We're running these cars harder than the manufacturers intended to run them. Things are going to happen. Parts are going to break. Parts are going to wear out. A lot of people start with 15-year-old time attack cars to begin with that probably would need a full, full rebuild just to drive on the street properly, right? And then we go race them at the track, and stuff wears out. It's just the way it is.
Very true.
That's where my car's at right now. It needs a lot of money to.
Just
really
stuff's worn out.
Yeah, it's tired
over time. Yeah, and that's frustrating too, because and that's something to take into consideration as well. I guess if you're looking at buying a car to do more serious, consistent racing, is what's the history of the car, and is it going to need not anything that's super expensive, but like everything. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Brakes, tires, diff. The engine bushings, the engine's tired. It really needs to be rebuilt. There's a lot of play in it. Transmission. It may not break the bank, but it really breaks your spirit. It's a bummer.
Sure does. And we spent a lot of time this spring trying to make the car faster, quicker in every way, handling, braking, horsepower, everything. And we went to a few events this year. It had a few issues, and we're thinking now, and we're going to spend probably the whole rest of the summer just looking at every single thing that we can about this car and trying to make it more reliable, because it is so hard to get everything you can out of a car at the track. You can try to find time two ways. You can try to find time, making the car faster, finding another second that way. But if we would have had a car that could have ran more sessions, problem free at Gridlife, we probably could have ran maybe that low 27 or high 26 anyways, without even making the car any faster than it is right now. So we're going to spend the next little while and try to make this car as reliable as it can be. There's always going to be things. We try to bring as many spares as we can to the track. But there's, we're going to try to make sure that it's at least, a little bit better, so we can try to turn as many sessions as we can. Because I think that almost every track that we've gone to this year probably could have gone, a little bit faster, whether it be from having an issue or just not wanting to run the car for all the sessions because we're worried that we might have an issue. And it's nothing against, anyone that helps with the car, the team, any of the parts that we use or anything like that. It's just a combination that, we have to make sure that everything works really well with all the other parts on the car. And
sure.
I think we're getting through that. We've got the car running much cooler now. We have the trans, changed. We've made some changes in the trans thanks to John at TRE, and I think that's going to be a lot more reliable. So those are going to be two big things right there, with the cooling system and the transmission that should help us a lot. So, we knock on wood, we had a pretty good weekend at Autobahn, and we ran a lot of sessions there and didn't have too many issues. And but we still have a few things that we learned from that event that we think we can improve on, and we're just going to keep on doing that right now, because we're really happy with the pace of the car. The lap times it's turning with relatively no practice at a lot of events is really good. So that's kind of where we're hoping to go from here.
Sure.
You still came home with a couple track records this weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, we got on all three configurations, we got the front wheel drive record, but we were really trying to get, at least one of the overall records, and Andy caught us on every one. So that was a little bit frustrating, but we're still on the backup trans.
So
we didn't put any fresh tires on for this weekend, and every configuration, I was learning the track as we were going. So we were really close to Andy on a couple of them, and that's pretty exciting.
I have a friend on my Facebook who is also friends with Andy, and shortly after Gridlife Midwest, he had made a post about Evos being great track cars and blah, blah, blah. And someone had made a comment and tagged Andy in it. And I had said something about how, these Evos are awesome, but too bad they spent the whole weekend chasing after a couple of front-wheel drive Hondas at Gridlife. And
did you piss off Andy Smedgard? Is that what you're telling us?
Andy Smedgard replied to my comment and said, they got me this week, but I'm coming for them.
So if you're curious why you came second at Autobahn, it's because of Adam Nielsen. He pissed off Smedgard.
It's me trolling Andy, who's never even met me on Facebook.
And he brought all of it to the table.
So he stands winner on this one, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. It's an impressive car. I mean,
Andy's a great guy. I went up to Wisconsin this winter, and he let me drive his S2000, the Ice 2K on the ice at Gridlife Ice Battle. He let me drive his Evo in Final Grid at Midwest. So I couldn't be happier to lose. Let me rephrase. If I'm gonna lose to someone, I'm happy to lose to Andy because he's a great guy and a great competitor.
Speaking of getting lots of seat time, there's a guy who spends more time in a seat than out of it. Holy cow.
Yeah, they are I think they're going to an autocross this weekend or hosting an autocross or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think the week before they were having their Proving Grounds event. And it's just like it never ends for those guys.
Wow.
Proving Grounds is cool. It's kind of a mini Gridlife.
Yeah, I've heard that's a pretty cool experience.
So,
do you have anything else on your calendar coming up?
Oh man, we have a lot of stuff that we're hoping to do. We're going to do the rest of our CSCS season, which is 3 more events. We're planning on doing Gridlife South at Atlanta.
Oh, you are going to make it down.
Yeah, we're planning on that.
That'd be awesome.
That's one of the front wheel drive records that we don't have that we're gonna hopefully try to get as close to as possible. We're kind of behind the 8 ball in horsepower there, but we've making improvements to the car, like I said before, in the springtime, and if we can make it more reliable, I think we'll have a chance.
Sure.
We're hoping to run the Speed Ring event
in Detroit,
which is going to be at the M1 track or something like that.
M1 Concourse, I want to say.
Yeah, M1 Concourse, hosted by Motivicity, I guess. And then, if all goes well, hope to be at Gridlife Special Stage. I guess that's actually the week after the Speed Ring event. And then if all goes well with all of that, hope to go out to Super Lap Battle and try to get the front-wheel drive record there because we missed out on that one by, I think, 19 100ths of a second last year. So that's a tough one to haul 2,600 miles each way.
Wow.
To get me by less than 0.2 of a second.
Yeah, that sucks.
So the car is a lot better than it was last year, and I think we have a great chance to get that one there.
So I got a few kind of off the wall questions for you.
Yeah, shoot.
Have you ever considered hill climb with that car?
I don't. I would rather go and watch a hill climb than compete in one, I think, myself. Okay. I love it. I think it's very cool. I don't know if I have enough self-control to do a hill climb properly. I love to try to see how fast I can go at a track the first time I ever go to it. And sometimes I have a few hairy moments because of it. And I just don't know if I would, have what it takes to take it easy enough going up a hill climb. I definitely have, I love Pikes Peak. I would love to go and watch Pikes Peak. I have zero interest in ever competing there because those heights are just crazy. I'm afraid of heights, and just watching the in cars from that is like, you guys are crazy. I respect you guys so much, but I have zero interest in doing that.
I just have this odd fascination with hill climb, and that has kind of become an aero game, a lot like Time Attack has lately. So
it has, yeah.
I feel like your car would fit well there, but it's good to know your limits and respect that. So
there's some smaller events that they do in like West Virginia and New York State and Pennsylvania, that look very intriguing, and I've often thought about it. If our Time Attack schedule wasn't so intense, I would probably kind of think about it more. But it's the same thing. It's just like, there's zero room for error there. If you ever drive off a track in time attack, know that if you're going up a hill climb and you go off, you're probably going to get hurt. Your car is probably going to be scrap, and you're going to be starting from scratch, and that's kind of scary.
Yeah, I guess I never even thought about it that way, but you're absolutely. Look at Richard Hammond. I mean,
yeah, we all
right.
don't have multi-million-dollar Amazon
Budgets.
insurance policies and budgets against us. So,
You just have to go back and look at it and think: are you willing to go fast enough to try to win? And if you drove that hard, would there be any chance that you would drive off at your time attack track? And if you drive off at that track and you're into a set of trees or something like that, better hope that all your safety equipment is absolutely top notch, because when you hit a tree at 120 or 140 miles an hour, that's not very good.
No,
not at all.
So then I had one other completely separate question. Something that I noticed a couple of, especially the Group A time attack guys, doing at Gingerman, that I was wondering if you could maybe shed some light on why they were doing this. And I can't even remember the specific drivers, and I don't know if you were one of them or not, but on the front straight, some of those guys would hug the wall, and then right towards the end of, right as you enter brake, they would swerve to the right to get onto racing line for that corner. Is there a reason they would stick close to the wall instead of staying out away from it so that they don't have to do that turn, that swerve? Is there something to that?
No, I didn't spend enough time watching. We were having our own issues that we didn't get. I love spectating, and I wish I would have got to spectate more. I didn't see that myself, but I can't really think of a reason why. Unless they were kind of trying to chase a drift, maybe the whole way down the front straight, but I can't imagine that because it's a fairly front straight.
I think Smedgard was doing it, and I was wondering if maybe there's, being closer to that wall, you get less aerodynamic drag. Maybe you can pull another couple mile per hour out of it that way, or what the thought is.
I don't know. I think Andy does some stuff just to be funny sometimes, so you can't always
copy this line.
Yeah, he's just a big joker sometimes. So if he can do it weirder than anyone else, and he thinks that it might not cost him any time, he might do it just for fun.
That's fair.
I always like to have my car as straight as possible for as long as possible before braking if I can, because you just want to have that. You want to have the car as settled. You don't want to be kind of just finishing a turn and braking, because you can definitely induce some braking oversteer, which happens sometimes. But you want to try to control it as much as you can.
Yeah. So my last question: when are you going to put it in a box and ship it to Australia?
Oh, that game. That's a crazy game over there. It's the amount of money that it takes.
Yeah.
I make a pretty strict kind of rule in my own brain that I'm not going to an event unless I think that I have a legitimate chance of, winning, setting front wheel drive record, whatever, something like that.
Yeah.
And that game over there, that's a crazy deal. That's a really crazy deal. Those cars have, especially the fastest front wheel drive ones, they have a lot of years of development. The main kind of few fastest front wheel drive cars, they've been running the same cars for a few years now.
Yeah.
And they're really dialed in. A lot of them have, if they don't have big budgets, they have, really good connections to get things that they need to get done. And I don't know. I think, Mighty Mouse CRX, I think they said that his minimum speed in turn one is 235 kilometers an hour or something like that, which is almost 150 miles an hour on a non-banked corner with a huge bump at the entrance.
Yeah.
Wow.
That is some kind of seriously insane stuff. So I don't know. I don't think that our car is necessarily, right where it needs to be yet to go there and challenge for the win. Our main competitor, William, is going, his car is going this year. And it'll be really interesting to see, kind of how he does against Mighty Mouse. I hope for the absolute best for him. And I've often joked with him. I said, I hope you go down there and get the record, get the world record, and I hope you come back, and I hope I beat your ass at the first event when you come back. But, I absolutely wish him all the best, and it's great to have another Canadian front-wheel drive car going down there. A guy that I've competed against so much with go down there, and he's really taking his program really seriously. They're doing a lot of good improvements, not a lot of weird, crazy trying stuff, just stuff that they know is going to work and stuff that's a development of what they've been working on already. And I think they're going to have a really good chance to give the front wheel drive cars down there a really good challenge.
Well, I know when I look at your car and some of the front wheel drive cars that are front runners down there, like, not saying your car is not crazy by any stretch, because it is a wild machine, but they've got a lot crazier aero going on some of those things. And
yeah,
I mean, I don't know if that really makes that much difference or not, but man.
Some of the crazy front bumpers and splitters and stuff like that, a lot of the cars are using like full carbon front ends and stuff like that now. And, you look at some of the programs down there and you think, where does this money even come from for some of this stuff like that? Like, these are, some of them look like they'll make $100,000 worth of changes in one off season. And it's like, I don't know how they do that. I can't do that myself. I wouldn't even be able to, scrounge up the budget to go down there. Not alone making the car what it needs to be to compete at a very high level and at the level that I would want to compete at there.
Yeah.
So we'll just, if the opportunity arose someday, I'm not saying that I would turn it down, but, we'll just keep on trying to improve the car as good as we can. And, I think if you look at, I always worry deep down I don't know, it's kind of a side note. I always worry deep down. I'm like, if we've improved this much in the last couple of years, either we're really, really good now or we were atrociously bad a couple of years ago. And I always wonder, and I think everyone wonders, and I think that's why, a lot of guys go to World Time Attack in Australia is, we're fast, but where are we versus there? And it will be really interesting to see how Will does down there, and see how, we'll get a good idea of how all of North American Time Attack stands up against down there, depending, if he has a fairly trouble-free event. And, we'll see what his lap time is, and it'll be able to kind of figure out where the rest of us are.
It is the bar, for sure, isn't it?
It does seem to be that way, and it's...
I know Jabay has talked about wanting Gridlife to be that way on the North American scene. So
well, and it's quickly, things are changing at Gridlife fast.
Yeah.
Gridlife Midwest is crazy, and Adam and I were talking a lot at Autobahn about some of the ideas and stuff that he has for next year, and I think this is pretty cool stuff coming, and I think that, who knows, World Time Attack has been around for a long time. They didn't do it in 2 years.
No.
Gridlife is only a couple of years old now. Where is it going to be in 5 years? It's going to be, I think it's going to be some pretty amazing stuff happening.
Agreed. Definitely. Robbie, do you have anything else?
No, I don't think so. We've been talking for well over an hour.
Robbie's really time conscious. So,
well, I mean, you let him talk for an hour. He tells us everything about his car and his driving habits and plans for the future. I mean,
what else you got?
Yeah, what else do you got?
That's it. James? Or Jim?
Do you got any shout outs, thanks, anything like that you want to plug?
Yep, sponsors, all that fun stuff.
Can we make fun of Adam for saying roof?
Absolutely.
You can make fun of Adam as much as you want to on this show.
We encourage that.
I'll set up another episode of you just making fun of Adam if that's what you need.
That'll be a midweek special.
For that long. I just like to give him a little roof joke every once in a while.
I don't hear it. I'm with Adam on this one. I don't hear it.
What's the background of this joke? Because I don't know if I fully get it, and probably other people don't if I don't understand it.
Apparently,
is it roof versus roof?
Yes, exactly.
So James, how do you say it? Roof. Okay, and he says roof.
Yes,
there's no O's in the word that he's saying.
He's saying RUF or something like that.
Like a dog bark.
RUUF or something like that. And I know that, and I can make this joke because I know, as a Canadian, that we say all kinds of weird shit ourselves. So I can make that joke and not feel bad because I know that every 20 words that I say to Adam, he's probably like, what the hell would you just say to me?
I've heard it a couple of times and I've refrained.
You've held back?
So.
No, Giver, I'm down. I'm so down.
No.
I say A all the time.
Do you say A to be ironic, though?
No.
You actually say
A. You almost say A sometimes as like almost like a question mark at the end of a phrase or something like that.
Do you ever call people hosers?
What's that?
Do you ever call people hosers? Is that a thing still?
No, I don't. What would you call them? What?
Wait, I got one for you. Tell us about Timmy Hose for us Americans. Is it like the?
Do you have Tim Hortons in that area?
No, they're north of us still.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
They're coming into the U.S. quite a bit now, like, kind of a couple hours across the border and stuff like that.
They haven't made it this far
spreading
south.
reasonably quickly.
I don't think people we have some people that listen in California and stuff like that. I don't think they understand the cultural impact that is Tim Hortons in Canada. I didn't understand
a really
it.
quick, really hilarious one about that.
Okay.
So Professional Awesome, with their Evo, they came up to a CSCS event end of 2015, I guess it was. So, we, becoming friends and stuff like that. And I'm like, come on up, stay at my place, anything. And we'll go out for a test night to the track the night before, come back, look at data and stuff like that. And, we'll go to the event. I was bringing my car and they brought their car. And so we drove, in convoy to the event on the Sunday morning. And, we discussed, well, we'll stop somewhere along the way and get some breakfast or whatever. And they're like, when you pulled in Tim Hortons, they're like, we knew it was happening. We had
Is this the moment?
We were waiting for a good one where there was going to be like good parking for 2 trucks and 2 enclosed trailers and everything like that. So we actually drove for about a half an hour before we stopped because a lot of the ones we were passing were kind of crappy for that. And when we finally pulled in, they were all like, "This is so Canadian." They were so excited for it.
Is it
more just the fact that we were there than caring about the coffee or the food or anything. It's all fine. Like, it's nothing super exciting, but it's just they were just excited to know that they were going to Tim Hortons on the way to the track.
It's like you need to go to a Waffle House when you're in Georgia.
Yep.
Or a Bojangles.
A Bojangles?
Bojangles.
What is that?
It's chicken.
Is it?
It's like the Tim Hortons of the South?
No, I think that's Waffle House.
No.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I would say that for me, like, knowing both of them, I would say that Tim Hortons is like or Waffle House would be like the Tim Hortons of the South.
I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like Tim Hortons is the McDonald's of America. Like, and maybe it's just I have one.
Many? I don't know.
Well, I just have one Canadian friend that I think now, because I've made fun of him, he thinks it's a joke to like bring up Tim Hortons whenever he can. Oh, it's so Canadian, right? And a boot and stuff. He's being an idiot. But it really seems like there's a lot of Tim Hortons up there.
There's definitely more Tim Hortons, in certain areas than there are McDonald's or Waffle House or anything like that.
That's crazy.
The US. Like, it's unbelievable how close. Some of them are, 1 block away from each other.
But that's that way with, like, there's...
Maybe it's the Starbucks of...
I was going to say, there's like 6 Starbucks in Ames, and there's only 50,000 people that live there. I feel like we don't need that many Starbucks.
I think there's more than 6.
For 200,000 people in Kitchener here, where I live, there would be... I don't even know. It's
a 20?
Like over that, for sure.
More than 20?
Oh, it's insane. Like...
Oh, man.
There's 2, within a couple of blocks each way of my work. Like, there's 2, either one of them are within a 2-minute drive. One of them's probably one of them is 30 seconds to the left and the other one's 2 minutes to the right. And if you wanted to drive 3 or 4 more minutes in any direction, we could probably find 4 more. Like, it is weird. Like, and I'm sure that some of them have, struggled to make money because, there's certain ones that are just the ones that people go to, and there's certain ones that, they've just tried too hard and they just put too many in certain areas, and there's some that are just never busy, and there's some that, there's the one that people call King and O, and it's King Street and Ottawa Street and Kitchener, and it's just like always been the hangout. It's where, if you've got an old muscle car or a motorcycle or anything like that, that's where you go. First nice day in the spring, it's going to be full of muscle cars and Harleys. Like, it's just the way it is.
It's like our Sonic.
Sonic or DQ.
Yeah.
Except there's not nearly as many of those.
No.
Not at all.
Just ate at Sonic today. I think it's the first time I've been to one in probably 10 years.
It's a weird place.
It is.
I don't know if I'm...
Sonic? Is that like a burger place?
Yeah.
It's like a drive-in.
You pull up and there's a menu, and you push a button and order it, and they'll bring it out to you. You don't have to get out of your car or anything. But it's not.
Weird.
It's not
like
drive through.
It's a drive
up.
in.
Drive in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never been to one of those before.
They have like legitimately like 100+ different flavors of slushy.
No.
Yeah. It's a
How's
deal.
that possible?
I don't, because they just mix everything with everything. And then
Oh,
like
that
now
sounds
you can get them
terrible.
with candy in it.
A slushy with candy in it?
Like,
Isn't
like
the whole
a-
point of it is that it's the consistency of the name? It's slushy?
Like a Nerds type of candy in it.
That sounds really
Well,
weird.
I feel like things just go too far sometimes. You just
That's
have to
exactly
That's one of
what
them.
that
know
is.
what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But I still want to try it, you know? That's the
That's how they
problem.
make money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how they get you.
Yeah. Got to try it out, see what it's like. Get some nerds in my slushy.
Yeah.
I think on that note, since our podcast has yet again turned to beverages and food, somehow we just keep coming back.
Every single
It's what the
time.
people ask for, really.
It's true.
I think we'll conclude. James, people can find you on Instagram, right?
Yep.
At
Time_attack. Oh, sorry. You go.
ooh, I had like my official announcer radio, like I
So
got it
ready.
pulled up here.
Sorry.
No, it's
I'm
okay.
gonna do it.
At time_attack_typer or type R.
Didn't think that through enough when I signed up for Instagram.
Where else can people find you? Is that your main
I'm
hub?
on Facebook, I'm the most active just on my James Houghton personal Facebook page. I have a Facebook Facebook page, whatever. I have Time Attack Type R Facebook page as well, but I'm not as active on it as I am on Instagram. And that's pretty much it. I'm fairly active on Instagram all the time. I try to post at least every couple of days and try to post a few times at an event and try to keep everyone updated and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Cool. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, guys.
I want to say, as probably the only one in this group who prefers Time Attack over drifting when it comes to Gridlife events, I was super, super pumped to get a chance to talk to you. So I fanboyed at least a tiny little bit when you friend requested me on Facebook this afternoon. So
He's super pumped because you guys are front wheel drive friends.
that's the other thing is I have this weird penchant for front wheel drive. So
it's we could talk about front wheel drives for like a whole other podcast.
I just like being the underdog. That's my thing.
I just like that you never have to worry about loose off, which you have to worry so often in Time Attack, and we can do weird things with front wheel drive cars and never have to worry about a loose off condition, and that's super exciting.
Just put that power down. Keep
Put
going.
it down. If you can get that thing to put power down, you don't have to worry about it getting loose coming off a corner, and that's one less thing that the front wheel drive guys have to worry about. But that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
James, we'll let you go. We're going to wrap up a few other things, but we'll catch up with you a little bit later. Thanks again.
Sounds great. Have a great night, guys.
Yep.
You too.
Later. Adam, do you have a opener? What did we call it when it's in the middle?
Adam,
it's a
I want-
part-way opener?
Yeah, I want you to open it up midway.
It's a part. Can you open it up part-way for us?
Open?
Presented by Eyes Up Auto Art.
So I have a bit of a serious topic today.
You don't have to wear your headphones anymore if you don't want to. Does it trip
at
you
this
out? I
point-
feel like it trips you out.
Leave it in.
I don't really.
You don't
like
talk
them.
as loud. You feel like you're like.
I don't know. Do you want me to take them out?
No.
Try
Does it make
taking
you
them out.
feel
Try
better?
taking them out.
Okay,
It
I'll
might
take
make
them-
me feel
I'll take
better.
them out. Everything's so much quieter this way.
Does it feel better?
I don't like wearing those.
I know you feel. I feel like you have to be different when you have the headphones in.
Well,
You have
I
a
can
different
hear myself
cadence.
breathing, and I'm very afraid of that.
Maybe that's a good thing, though.
Yeah,
Put them back in.
I don't know. I try. I don't know. We'll
it's
just
fine.
move on.
Just keep going. You have a
Yeah, you
serious opener.
I have a bit of a serious topic today.
Okay.
A question I posed to you guys to answer, and I'm going to post this on our Facebook page next week. After this comes out, probably Tuesday or Wednesday. So if you want to weigh in on it, please, by all means, do.
People love our questions on Facebook.
They seem to. So, not too long ago here, the Isle of Man TT wrapped up.
Yes.
Okay. This year, 3 more people were killed on course. And
Okay.
so I was doing a little bit of reading about this. It's funny. The first year it was held was also the first year that someone was killed. And it is believed that that was the first person to ever die in a motor vehicle accident on the island.
Interesting.
As high 2005 was the most deadly year, killing 11 total people,
That includes spectators and drivers,
including spectators, marshals, and drivers.
right? Marshals.
Hitting people with motorcycles.
Hitting people with motorcycles, hitting
Well, yeah, at 200 miles an hour.
hitting walls,
Probably gonna
not
go
on
slow.
motorcycles, things like that. So my question to you guys is, in a world where we as a society have put so much into safety and trying not to kill each other.
Yeah.
At what point do we think that this is too much and it's got to go?
Nah, keep doing it.
If my own personal opinion is, I really like this race. I think it's awesome. I would say, based on your question, though, 10 years ago.
Well,
I mean, really, I can't believe it's still going.
I'm amazed it is. It's crazy to me that this many people have been killed in anything, and we continue doing it in a world where that's really not okay anymore.
Yeah, like people will say Isle of Man. Yeah, people die at that race.
That's
like
the very
that's
first
the
thing
only
you
thing
think
that
of.
you think of. It's people die at Isle of Man.
And that Subaru spends an oddly large number of money sponsoring that event.
Really?
That's the other thing I don't quite
Yeah, those
understand.
Subaru motorcycles.
Yeah.
What?
No. But
I didn't even think of that. Yeah, why did they do that?
I don't know.
You think like Ducati or something?
But I don't know. I don't know where to really go with it. I just thought that it was interesting in this world that continues.
I like it.
I do
They
too.
should keep doing it.
I am not in any way, shape, or form saying we need to squash
Because
this.
I think we've talked about this before, but there was an incident several years ago. Somebody got severely hurt at an autocross because of a freak accident. That was driver error. Error might be a strong word. May have been like a
misjudgment?
stroke or something.
Yeah.
Who knows? Somebody was seriously injured, and then I don't know if it's the rules. I'm not really sure, but we have never raced there ever again. And that accident should have never happened, in a rational world. And my response to that is, why? Because, at the end of the day, it's still automobile racing. So you
I
can't
think
take
that's part of it, isn't it?
the risk of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
That's part of it. You take all that risk away, and the excitement from not only the driver but the fan is gone, isn't it?
Racing is about accepting and mitigating risk.
That's why I think that this automated race car thing is not going to work well because there's no risk.
Yeah. Just financial risk, and who cares?
No.
That doesn't affect me. It's not my money. I don't care what you
When you
do
see a
with
race,
your money.
you see a NASCAR crash, go, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars gone.
That's not the first
No, that's
thought.
not what you think of.
Not at all.
No.
So,
I don't think it's going to end the race series. I think what you'll see is going to be a separation of race and spectator more. Because you'll see, like, I'll post a picture on YouTube, but they can the spectators can reach their hand out and touch the bike. That's how close they are at any given moment on that track.
I'm surprised that they haven't made moves to mitigate that at least.
Yeah, there's not even a hay bale between them.
See, I think that probably wouldn't kill them to change.
No, separating the spectators from the racetrack is probably the right step, no matter what racing.
Yeah.
But I
Look
think
at what the Nürburgring went through.
Exactly.
I wonder if things are different on the Isle of Man. Obviously they are because they don't have speed limits.
Well, I think there's a lot of cultural
So I wonder,
involved.
if you can, if it has to be this speed aspect of it has to be acceptable because they don't have speed limits.
Right.
So there must be in that culture some level of risk acceptance in regard to driving,
Responsibility.
racing. Yeah.
Because if that race happened here,
You'd be sued to death.
if somebody loses a motorcycle and kills a spectator, if that person survived, they're going to be ground into the ground finationally.
Yeah.
By some lawyer, for
Yep.
sure.
Or somebody's owner,
Before the weekend is even
the
person
Yeah.
the person's who is killed's family has been contacted multiple times by multiple lawyers.
Yeah, and the racetrack organizer and everybody's involved now.
Yeah.
And they're all being issued
Statements and
lawsuits and
Yeah.
I agree.
because I think it's New Zealand. They're very much you chose this risk. You didn't have to do this. If you didn't want to get hurt, don't do it. And that's a society I kind of wish I lived in.
I agree. It's like I always say it wrong, but the Mila Magia.
Okay.
Is that how I say it?
Yeah.
I think that used
I
to
don't
be
know the slightest clue how you say it.
I think that back in the 50s was a much longer race, and it was just on public roads.
It was 1,000 miles, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think you're right,
kilometers
yeah.
maybe.
And now I don't even know, it's super short now.
Yeah.
Because they've had to reduce the number of miles or kilometers or whatever that they travel.
Now it's
for whatever
more of a
reason.
heritage event. It's not even really a race.
But there's stories of those guys in 50s, Maseratis like blowing people up in just normal streetcars driving to work or home or
Well,
whatever.
look at Group B. That's been immortalized in, automotive lore as like this dangerous, high-speed, insane race.
Crazy.
Modern rally cars are faster.
But they're
But
safer.
that's not what people care about because those cars aren't as exciting because they're safer.
Yeah. Which, that's good. I don't have a problem with that. That's, we don't need to kill people for the sake of killing people either.
Right. Yeah.
Because
But
there's always...
I feel like maybe they could pull the crowds back a little bit. I don't think
I
that
agree.
would really kill it.
It's like the drift event with the guy getting hit in the face,
Yeah.
Let's just...
It could have been avoided, but
It
at the
definitely
same,
could have been avoided.
time, it's his fault for sticking his head there. I mean, you knew what was coming.
And we wouldn't have had all those fantastically hilarious memes had he not been hit in the face.
So what you're saying is remove the hay bales. Just let people stand on the
Spoiler
track.
alert.
Yeah.
It's my favorite one. I still think it's hilarious.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
That's my favorite caption to that photo.
So, anyway, was that it for the opener?
Yeah,
It's an interesting thing
I
to
kind of
ponder.
wanted to know what you guys thought of it, and I think I'll make a post about it this week. So
Yeah, we'll see what people
be sure
say.
to join in. I want to know because a lot of you had some interesting opinions about rat rods. It was very 50-50 about.
Yeah, there were people that agreed with Adam and I, and then there were people that were wrong. And that's it's an interesting to choose to be wrong on purpose. Is that's
it's
up to you.
fascinating, isn't it?
It is fascinating, but if
It's
that's
an
what you want to
interesting-
do on the internet where other people can see you, that's perfectly fine.
You guys are so
This is
petty.
America, and
No,
it's your
okay.
right to do it.
I do want to note that
We keep bringing it up because not everybody agrees with you. You're so fucking petty.
I do want to note because somebody did mention this. If somebody wants to build one of those, more power to them. But I'm not going to like it. But I'm not saying you shouldn't build it.
That was my point.
I'm not saying you shouldn't build it. I'm just saying it's dumb.
Adam's going to judge you for it.
I'm going to judge you.
Well, that was my point all along. I was
You
saying,
can build it.
I don't like
That's
it.
fine.
but-
No, you clearly liked it.
No, I'm not a rat rod guy, but it's not my way. I don't make the rules, man.
So, yeah, I don't want to be that guy that tells people they should and shouldn't do things.
You've been doing that for 2 weeks.
But
with
I
rat
am going to
rods.
judge you when you do it.
I'll tell them that they shouldn't do it. That's fine. Don't do it. It's dumb. Boom.
Bam.
Check out Eyes Up Auto Art. Especially check out his Instagram. He's got some pretty cool stuff. Did you guys see this Cobra?
Oh yeah, I just
That's
posted
pretty
it.
sick. Oh, sure, you did post this.
posted
like
it
this
today.
I like that Cobra.
He's working on one for James. Pretty
He
excited. about it.
was. You saw the one for
saw
James.
it.
I wanted to bring that up. So he's doing James from Kanga Motorsports. He's doing his Spec Racer Ford. It's pretty sick.
It
He,
makes me feel good that
How have I not
these
seen
two
this?
people have
It
gotten
was-
together because of us.
It's on his story.
It's cool.
Oh, I don't watch
Ooh,
stories.
it's gone. It's gone. It's not there
Ow.
anymore. People can't see it. We'll wait till he posts it. I'm
James,
sure he'll
send it
post
to me
now.
personally.
Wait, no.
Where's that?
I may have it.
I don't know.
I may have it that I could send to you because I sent him a message about how sweet it was.
Oh,
Zach, when you get it done, post it on your Facebook so I can share it on ours.
yes, please.
Yeah, Eyes Up Auto Art, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. I dig his Instagram though because he posts all the stuff he's working on there too. And check out his stories because apparently he's got some other stuff there that he's working on.
The way he goes about doing it was not at all because I'm not an artistic minded person. So seeing his step by step is really interesting.
Like the drawing to the painting to the
and
layers.
like,
to
the layers thing
the finished
specifically
project-
to me
product.
is the most interesting aspect of that.
Yes.
I don't know anything about painting either.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you want a piece of automotive art for your car, he can do one for you as well. Just hit him up, send him a DM on any one of those social media sites, as I said, and he'll get with you. He'll figure out whatever it is that you want. He can do different sizes. Send him a picture. He can tell you if that's something that he can do or not. What was the deal with yours? Was there something weird going on with the one you sent him?
I think I was probably asking too much.
Oh,
There was a lot of. It was a very wide photo. Like there was a lot in it.
Oh, and there was just too much to try.
Because there was a picture of both of the race cars we had at the time and a Pontiac convertible that my mom drove, all lined up.
Oh, it was too small a detail.
And then me and my little sister were in that picture as well when I
Oh.
was like 10.
Yeah, that's
right.
You're asking for like 4 different pictures all at once.
Yeah, I know that
Can
was.
you just
well, 'cause
smash all that together?
I really wanted to get it for my mom for her birthday. I'm still trying to figure out something. She knows this, so it's.
Oh, okay. So you're not just letting that out on that.
I'm not going to tell her what I get,
That's
but
fair.
she does know that I'm working on it.
So anyway, if you get with him, he can tell you what's possible. But I think your cars are all pretty safe. I didn't realize you'd sent them. I didn't realize what you had sent him. I guess.
Yeah, I need to narrow my
Narrow it down to
here.
1 or 2 subjects probably. But hit him up. He can tell you what's possible. He can tell you different sizing, and he can tell you pricing, which I know is very reasonable. And it's a cool piece that you can hang in your house, and it will be unique, as I've said before. So pretty cool. Eyes Up Auto Art. Check it out. Let's move on to the news.
Let's do the news. So Los Angeles is installing rumble strips on Canoga
Yes.
Canoga Avenue
Canoga
to
Avenue.
prevent street racing because that is a problem there,
This is apparently where people like to street race.
and is well known.
People
It
have
looks like a drag strip.
people have died here, Adam.
Multiple.
Yeah, well, you know how I feel about street racing. When it comes to street racing, I'm not gonna tell you do what you want. Don't do it.
Don't. Yeah. No.
Pretty simple.
I think that's fair. What are your feelings on adding rumble strips to avoid? We have rumble strips here
That's
don't-
right before stop signs.
I don't.
on county roads where the
Where-
speed limit's 55.
and people street race.
Not through stop signs.
No,
No,
not
no,
through
no,
stop
no.
signs.
To be
but
fair.
I don't see speed bumps. Maybe rumble strips, not so much.
Speed bumps would be a real pain in the ass, and more people would complain. It wouldn't be worth it.
No, I don't think it.
And I think the rumble strips is throwing a band-aid at a bullet hole.
I think
It's not solving your problem.
maybe increasing patrol there or something like that. you know?
Somebody said camera?
Speed camera, maybe.
I'm not all about that. I would rather see them put policemen in cars and
Well, that's expensive. I'm not big on this whole like revenue collecting aspect of the speeding thing, which there's street racing. It's a different deal. And that's a public safety problem. I understand that, but I don't really like the idea of throwing a patrol at it. Something about that doesn't sit quite right because that's expensive. That's a pretty big
but see,
cost.
I'd rather them employ somebody and like that. That's my problem with speed cameras in general. Is that I'd rather see them throwing that money at human beings, not electronics.
Yeah, and the problem with a speed camera is you put a speed camera up, well, then they move over to there. And I think that's kind of the same thing with
Yeah.
rumble strips. Unless you're going to put rumble strips on every road that could potentially be a street racing spot.
The question was whether this was dangerous at a certain speed.
I don't.
It's a hell of a stretch, in my
I
opinion.
don't really think that it would affect a street race.
Well, like, yeah, say on, was it Jalopnik or on the drive, he kind of was like claiming that if you put a bunch of these speed bumps in the middle of the road, it's like putting a banana peel like on Mario Kart. And it's like, it's a bit of a stretch. I don't think you're going to just hit that at like 100 miles an hour and fly off into the ditch.
I'd like to see, though, like if you had, let's say, like a 500 horsepower rear-wheel drive car and you're on it hard accelerating through third gear or whatever, and you hit a rumble strip, I'd like to know what that does, because obviously it's not going to have no effect.
No, you'll have that vibration.
But I wonder if it would be enough to, bump steer the car or, do something. I mean, even just a matter of moving over a few feet might mean that you run into another car or run into...
Well, then they make it more dangerous.
Right, and that was
feel
the
like,
question.
yeah,
and I don't
yeah.
know. I've always slowed down over rumble strips, so I don't know.
Yeah, I've never accelerated through a rumble stripped
Just for the hell of it.
I have. Actually.
You're a
You
dangerous
maniac.
man, Robbie.
Calm down.
I have-
do the police know about this?
This is not
No,
Rob's
I've come out of a...
and hit the other side's rumble strip?
Yeah,
So
I've done
for-
that and then like been passing somebody on the in the rumble
But you're
strip area.
accelerating. You're not doing 150, so
You're right. I was going 55. It's much
While
safer
he was passing.
while I
For
was
people that
passing.
don't know, on these county roads out here in Iowa in the middle of nowhere, we have four-way or two-way stops. And on the side that's supposed to be slowing down the stop, they put these patches of rumble strips, usually 2 or 3 of them, and you drive over them, and when you hear that first one, it indicates that it's an auditory indicator that you need to slow down.
There's a stop sign coming.
Especially if it's on a hill, maybe you can't see the stop sign, then that's, it's a safety thing.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that you were making let's say a right-hand turn, and you were in the passing lane, which you can do legally if it's a passing zone.
Yes.
And you were accelerating over a rumble strip.
Yes.
Did it seem weird?
No.
How hard were you? Was
It's
this
been-
in
it's
the
been-
Rogue?
No.
In the RAV4?
No. I think it was in the 240 many years ago.
Oh, okay. So you could have been.
It wasn't anything that I remember. And then those rumble strips are different than what they put in Los Angeles.
What are they putting in Los Angeles?
They're basically speed bumps, but they're only like half an inch tall.
Oh, so they're actually raised above.
Yeah.
Not slots cut in.
Oh, that seems worse.
No, yeah, they're like
Okay, then that is for sure.
they're itty bitty speed. Like they're like
that seems
quarter
worse.
inch to 1.5 inch speed bumps.
I'm
I
against-
would not race on that.
No, but that's what they're trying to point. Like that's their point. Is like just stop racing. But at the same time, I think that
I'd be really mad about that as a daily
thank you.
person too. Like
And if I
that-
lived there, that would piss me off. If I had
Yeah.
to listen to that all
That's
day
what
every
they
day.
said. Those things are annoying. I would
yeah.
not want to live by the ones we have here. They make an annoying noise.
Oh, I never even thought about that.
If you
As a homeowner on that street,
This is in L.A. County. I mean, surely there's businesses or homes, or I don't know where this is exactly.
there's
but
lots of homes. It's
in LA County.
it's surrounded by houses, which is
you would
weird
think
that
it'd
they
be
would street race
somewhat-
there.
Yeah, you think it'd be somewhat desolate.
No, it's houses on either side, all the way down.
Wow, weird.
Like in the picture that they have on the drive, you can see the burnout marks.
Yeah.
And then on either side, it's just houses and trees. And
It's
stuff.
got a brick wall on either side, right? But it's still got houses, and there's like a
There's no brick wall, man.
privacy wall.
That's just a road. That looks like
That's
there's
just
a
middle of
road.
town.
Yeah. Which is weird that they don't get reported every time they show up. Like, how is that even a problem? They do like three polls, and all of a sudden, oh, cops are coming because
Well, they probably just do
neighbor.
a hit or two and then run to the next spot.
Yeah, I suppose.
I think that's how that works.
I don't know. I've never.
We don't street race. I went with some people street racing one time. I didn't know. Like, okay, I guess we're street racing. There was
Did that-
too many cops.
Did it even happen?
No, there was too many cops.
Because the story, the limited story I've heard of that, I don't think it even happened.
We drove around for like 3 hours, and then some of us got
said,
bored.
"Screw it."
And then I think some people actually got to street race, but that was at like 2:00 in the morning. The rest of us left.
Sounds like a lot of
Or
dicking
you just
around.
go to the
It
drag
sounds like a
strip and
ton of dicking
race.
I agree.
Just go to needs no prep.
I agree. It's,
They race literally every weekend in Eddyville.
yeah, you can race at Anyville.
And they
whenever you
probably
want.
drove the same linear distance.
Right, probably.
Trying to find a place to race.
And there were a lot fewer cops.
Huh. Weird.
It was a weird deal. I don't
Yeah, I don't get it.
It's- it's whatever.
There's so many options.
to not do it.
Yeah.
Nah,
like,
I get it.
You could autocross. You could time attack. Whatever.
Whatever.
Speaking of people breaking the law, a man stole $2 million worth of plastic bins from FCA and uses that money to buy a house.
What's $2 million worth of plastic bins look like? That's my question.
10 years worth of stealing.
Yeah, describe plastic bins to me here. Like
I think
Or
it's
7 years worth of
I think
stealing.
it's those like big,
No, I think what they are is like when I was working at Danfoss, when you take the transmission or hydraulic pump and you put it in these specifically designed plastic containers that you put them in, then they get shipped to the distributor. So those expensive containers are then once they get to this place, they take those containers off. Like, oh, what do we do with these? Oh, I'll take those. And he puts them back on the truck, and then he recycles them and sells them for whatever the material value is.
Yeah, he only sold them for $450,000.
Yeah, so $2 million worth of bins for $450,000 over 7 years.
You look really confused.
I'm so confused.
My other
right
question
now.
is like, at what point did they like, God, we're short a bunch of bins, but they just did that for like 7 years?
Yeah, it sounds like he started.
So-
They documented it back to 2010, I think.
I assume these are made of plastic,
Yes.
right?
Yes, plastic bins.
So plastic has a market value to a recycling
To
center?
somebody it did, yeah, apparently.
Well, you can get 10 cents for a plastic bottle or 5 cents for a plastic bottle, depending
Only
on where
because
you're
you paid for it up front.
at. Guess who paid for it up front? FCA.
Well, yeah, but it's not like there's a return deposit fee built into the purchase price like there is a can of pop here in Iowa.
I'm not sure how it works. He brought it to a recycling center.
That's what I'm super confused by. Was this here in the States?
Yeah, Michigan. Detroit.
Plastic to me is like something you recycle more out of the goodness of your own heart than
Because it's the right thing to
because
do.
it's the right thing to do than to make money. I don't go around looking for plastic.
You recover metals, copper,
yeah, copper
for money.
Yep.
Aluminum,
So
if you will.
I suppose it is amazing that he got 25 cents on the dollar.
That's
That's
Yeah,
a
he
good
did,
return on
That's-
investment.
well,
Fair
he-
enough.
Yeah, so he had no investment.
Well, yeah, he was coming out at 100%
what I mean.
ahead. Yeah, but still,
25 cents on the dollar, though.
Yeah. Think about
That's
stealing
pretty
plastic
good
bins?
scrap
Is that what you're
pricing.
telling me?
Yeah, I'm like,
Well,
wait a second.
You're in now?
Yeah.
All right, well, if you're considering that, here's what you could see: 20 years in prison, and they're going to take his $200,000 house.
They got to catch me first, though.
He's not buying a house. He's buying a fucking boat, Robbie. International waters.
Yeah, but we've already talked about owning boats.
He did it for 7 years.
Paying the asset. Actually, no.
Yeah, but if you had an extra $250,000.
2012, so he's only done it for 5 years.
5 years.
Sorry. I
Still, that's a
misspoke.
long time to be stealing shit and not getting caught.
It is impressive.
Yeah.
Actually, he only did it for 10 months.
Oh, really?
It started in May of 2012 and continued for 10 months from
And then he
then.
stopped.
Wow, I totally missed it. I thought he stole for years. How else would you get $2 million for the bins?
Man. I didn't know the street price for bins was so high. That's
Especially specialty ones. I'm going off of Robbie's description from a previous job, but I can't imagine these are just like he's not bringing them to his wife's Tupperware party.
no. There's some sort of industrial bin thing.
Right. I'm so
It's
confused.
bizarre.
by
It's just a bizarre story.
I am
Truck
confused how
driver.
he could turn that into $460,000.
I think we should get this man a job
Recycling.
He's industrious.
somewhere. He's an entrepreneur.
Well,
He's
now
gonna be
he's,
that's the
spending it.
American dream.
now he's going to be
when
in
he
jail.
when he gets out of prison.
That's
and-
the American dream right
well.
there.
If I'd say
Listen, in
They get- yeah.
2037, you can offer this guy any job you want. It sounds like. We'll see if he goes to how long he actually goes to jail for, but it's
Do they say how old he is? Like, is he going
he's
to make
50
20
he's
years?
51. He may not make 20 years.
Not in,
Sorry, Adam. I know
Not
you had
in
a
a
whole,
Detroit
I know you had a whole
Shoot.
business plan planned out for this guy. But
I had the
he might
wheels
be
are
dead.
rolling and everything.
I think he's
was
going to be
ready for
dead.
this.
Sorry.
Shoot. I always miss my opportunity. This is what. This is why I can't get
missed it.
anywhere.
Damn
This
it.
is why I can't get anywhere in life.
It's because you didn't think to steal bins, Adam.
$1 short and a day late. Every time.
What's up next, Robbie?
the Audi RS models may allegedly go with a rear-wheel drive setup. I learned something this week.
I'm waiting for
What'd you
Adam.
learn?
What?
That Audi didn't have rear-wheel drive.
This
I had no fucking
is
clue.
a car podcast, Robbie.
I
car podcast.
I realized they had the Audi Quattro, their four-wheel drive. No clue that they didn't have a rear-wheel drive.
You can get lower models and front wheel drive.
Yeah, I knew that.
And everything in all-wheel
All-wheel
drive.
Yep. I kind of like the idea of going rear-wheel drive. Why wouldn't they?
I'm actually all for this.
Are you?
Yeah.
I think it's fun.
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Because I've driven Audi's all-wheel drive cars, at least their early 2000s one, and they're abysmally terrible.
I don't know
So-
what to say to that.
Yeah.
Were you
They're
really?
great.
You were hoping for me to
I was hoping
be
Adam
mad
would be-
about this.
God damn it! This is the
You know,
going
I
an
knew
old
that,
man rant.
I knew that was what you were expecting, and that's why I didn't.
I'm really bummed.
I didn't put up a fight
wanted
for this
an
one to
old
not
man
be in
Adam rant.
I don't
And
really.
I am disappointed.
In all reality, by the time I can afford any of these potentially forthcoming RS models, they will be
You won't be able to afford them.
they'll be worth what they are in scrap because they won't run anymore.
No, that's we've said it before. If you can afford them, you can't afford them.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can afford to buy it, or if you can't afford to buy
Right,
it new,
yeah, you can't afford to buy it.
shouldn't afford to buy it used.
You can't afford to buy it used
Can't afford to own it used.
because goapr.com will be your pinned to the top of your face.
RockAuto.com.
Rock Auto, yeah. Rock Auto and GoAPR will be pinned to your most visited websites.
Yeah, but it's a weird move.
Sounds fun.
I don't understand it.
Have a rear-wheel drive R8.
I feel like they fit a market right now that the other, luxury performance German brands don't. But I guess both, well, for sure Mercedes, because they're kind of moving away from their rear-wheel drive platforms, aren't they?
True, yep. They're going on wheel drive.
And I don't even care what BMW is doing enough to know.
I thought it was weird that what's this guy's name? Steven Winkelmann.
Yes.
He used to be the CEO of Lamborghini. Now he's the head of. Was he the head of Audi or just Audi Sport? I don't
Audi
remember. So Quattro's gone. Quattro's not a thing anymore.
Like the term,
The brand,
the name.
the brand is now Audi Sport,
Yeah.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
But I like that Quattro's got more heritage and sounds cooler.
Word up.
I realize that the GmbH thing is weird, which is a German thing, but
Yeah.
it's a German corporation, something, whatever. But Quattro is way cooler than Audi Sport. Audi Sport sounds dumb.
No, but Audi Sport, like, because
It's better for this plan.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Well, and
It's all encompassing, whereas Audi Quattro, it's our 4-wheel drive crap.
the R8 race cars are not all-wheel drive. They're rear-wheel drive only. And so, and that falls under Audi Sport. So, I get it. But I don't understand why they would do this. But maybe they're trying to fill a niche that Mercedes is leaving.
It's like
I don't know what they're. What are they hoping to gain from doing?
It's like everybody that it's like the X6. That weird. It's an SUV, but it's a car, but it's not. But it's a hatchback, but it's not. It's like that thing. It's like, do we need that? But then
No,
BMW
the one that we
makes
really
one.
don't need is when they threw the M badge on behind it.
Well, yeah,
that was the
that
car
too.
nobody needed.
But it's like somebody made that. I don't know if it was Mercedes or BMW that made it first, and then the other one made it, and then then they all three of them think that they need to make one, and then
because now you can buy like a what is it QS?
Yeah, there's QSs.
SQ7.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's SQ7.
But it's like, no, I mean, why though? Like, you couldn't have picked the SUV that was smaller, or the SUV that was bigger, or you couldn't have bought a 3 Series, or you couldn't have bought a 5 Series, or you know what I mean? It's just like everybody's chasing this really weird, like, specific market, and they're all doing it. They're all like, if somebody comes out,
but then
with
they don't
this,
sell and they get mad about it.
right? It's like the same thing with like the CLA, or is it the CLA and then, or is it the CLA and the A7? So the A7 comes out. Audi comes out with it's a
fantastically
coupe
good looking car,
right? And then Mercedes has to make one, and then Mercedes has to make a small one, and then BMW is like, well, we need the M6 Grand Touring or whatever?
Isn't that what they call the Grand Coupe? Even though it's
the
not
Grand
a coupe.
Yeah, so
it's a 4-door that they call a Grand Coupe.
But that's supposed to be the competitor for the S7 or the RS7, and it's like, it seems like a race to the bottom to me. Everybody has to be really specific in doing everything. It's like, why don't you just do what you do, but really well?
And we're car guys, and we're confused about what these cars are.
I have no idea what models Mercedes makes anymore. 5 years ago, I probably could have told you every single one. I have no idea what Mercedes makes anymore. They make a C-Class, an E-Class, and an S-Class, and I don't know after that.
Yeah.
There's a CLA and SLA.
If you put a C, an E, and an S-Class in front of me, I probably couldn't tell you which one is which.
Audi is the worst at that.
Oh, yeah.
They are the worst. You see,
sure.
If you see an A4, an A6, and an A8, like one after another, especially from the front, you're like, I have no idea. No clue. Because the A4 is huge. It's huge
it's not
now.
small anymore. But so is the 6 and the 8.
Yep. And they just decided that they all need to have like consistent design language, and so they all look exactly the same.
Front ends.
Yep. So I feel like it's a race to the bottom so that everybody can have everything. And it's dumb.
I think
just make
I think
Quattros.
No,
Are you as confused as you look like you are?
I'm confused by your conversation
Right.
and the side tangent you just went on.
That's all right. It had to happen.
No, but I think that this is just you're adding a price point. They're buying into the whole. Everyone freaked the fuck out when Porsche was like, no more rear wheel drive or no more manual transmissions. It's just like, you know what? Let's make a fun car. Let's make another price point. You want a rear wheel drive car? You can have
that's my point. There doesn't need to be any more price points. There's too many price points.
I think that this is one that actually makes sense, though, because nobody in that luxury German class is making that car.
I think people are going to like this because they can get their big 4-door Audi with the powerful engine, just like a G8. Like that's going to be a fun rear wheel drive car. Like, I mean, we've talked about that before. You if you want an R8, you have to have an all wheel drive. Well, maybe you don't want an all wheel drive. Maybe you want a rear wheel drive, and you can turn it into a race car.
If you don't want an all wheel drive R8, you buy a Huracan with the 2-wheel drive setup on it.
So
yeah, because they're the same price point.
So the rear wheel drive, I
they might be,
I can dig that more. But
yeah.
But like, if I'm gonna buy a luxury German automobile, I'm probably gonna buy an Audi because I want all wheel drive. Or if I want to buy, and BMW has xDrive or whatever, but if I want to buy something that's good to drive, and this is like in the mind of the consumer, I'm probably going to buy a BMW. So why does everybody need to do everything is my point.
Well, yeah, but I feel like this is a niche that no one, or I don't even want to say niche necessarily. This is a market that no one does now.
BMW does it. It's the whole M division.
But nobody wants that. They want the Audi. That's what you like.
Does BMW make a big M car? They just make the
M6 Grand Coupe thing that we just talked about.
Is there an M6 still?
Yeah. I don't know if there's. I think there's an M6. Yeah, there's an M6 Coupe, and then there's the Grand Coupe, which would be like an A7 size thing.
Because I'm shopping in this class.
I know. This is why we don't have any idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. But since Mercedes decided to put all-wheel drive in all their AMG cars, now you can buy an RS7 with 700 horsepower and only rear-wheel drive so that you can do smoky luxury burnouts because you want to be a little more comfortable than a Hellcat will afford.
But you can get, and I'm just being difficult to be honest with you, but you can get drift mode now on your AMG because you need that. So if you get the all-wheel drive, you can still have rear-wheel drive.
See, I feel like that's what Audi should do.
Yeah, it should be.
Instead of making a rear-wheel drive only car, you make a car that I can electronically change it and just
switching diffs. Which maybe that's what he's getting at. Who knows?
Right.
Still a little
this
speculative.
is still
That
very,
sounds very, very expensive. Whereas if someone's like, we're just gonna have a rear wheel drive, and it's gonna cost like $10,000 less.
You know what? When I went out and priced my A7 at $130,000, I was worried about price point at that point. I was worried about saving $10,000 on diffs.
It's all speculative anyway.
Well, yeah, it's just the Audi Sport. It's not the whole line. It's just
So just be the RS, maybe the S models.
just RSs.
Right.
Is that true?
Yes, it just says that right here. Audi RS models could go rear wheel drive. So your whole argument is invalid.
No, that doesn't make my whole argument invalid. He also said they could be two-wheel drive.
So front-wheel drive?
Front-wheel drive, yeah.
I'd buy a TTRS with front-wheel drive.
Would you?
I would happily buy that.
And just do front-wheel drive burnouts and
I
circles
would
all day
happily
long?
buy that car.
Just pull the e-brake handle if
Hell
you're so
yeah.
lucky to have one still and just do it burn out in a circle
Hell yeah.
till the tires pop.
Why not? I would buy a TTRS and front-wheel drive for sure.
Why is that? Just because? Just to be dumb?
Yep. Be a lighter
Just
car.
literally to go around corners with
be
smoke coming off the
It
side?
might be faster on a track situation.
You know what? You're
'cause
right.
it's
It
lighter.
could. The interview
with
today
as
has
good
proven
as-
that
yeah.
it is possible that
With
it could
as
be
good
faster.
as good as modern day traction control is, like look at these, look at the Civic Type R. Car's fantastically fast around a track for what it is. For a factory car, nobody would have ever thought a front wheel drive car could do those kind of Nürburgring times. It's
No.
crazy.
No, not even
It's silly fast.
10 years ago. Hell no.
So
Hell
imagine a front wheel drive TTRS. Be great. Be fun.
It makes good
I'd
noises.
own that. I'd own that over the all wheel drive one.
Really, you think so?
I
Price
think
the same.
Because I think it'd be more fun.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
I say I'm the same way. I'd rather have a rear wheel drive than all wheel.
I'd rather have
you gave
front
me- if-
or rear than all.
Really?
Yes.
In an Audi.
In anything.
Well, I guess
In general.
in an RS, like if it's a sport type car, yeah,
Are
absolutely.
you out on the Audi Quattro thing? You're not.
I don't own one.
Well, I know, but are you out completely on that?
Not
You're
entirely,
Oh,
no.
okay.
But, I mean, I'm not running back to them anytime soon.
Well, I
can
understand.
assure
that.
you of that.
I understand that.
But I still like Audi's cars.
Yeah.
But I would rather have something that's just front or just rear than all.
That's interesting.
Because all-wheel drive cars in an everyday setting are hard to be fun in.
No, I
Unless
can
you're
see
like
that.
making
Yeah.
on-ramp pulls.
No, I get it.
But rear-wheel drive can be fun to slide. Front-wheel drive
Yep.
can be... Torque steer's kind of fun. I know it's not fast, and I know it's kind of annoying, but it's also kind of fun.
It's more exciting.
It's exciting.
Things are happening.
But an all-wheel drive car just is what it is.
Unless you've got like 2,000 horsepower.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you're Bill and you can spin all four.
Or what's his name?
You know,
What's it? The
making
guy from
500 horse.
Got Bill that's got the what is it that he has that's all-wheel drive? That's a drift car.
Oh, there's an Audi Quattro with a 5-cylinder.
is it a
That's a
Quattro?
drift car.
Oh, is that the one that Maximum Driftcast had on there?
I don't.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. And it's fun to watch because he makes twice as much smoke as everybody else. But
How does he
it's
see, though?
great. if I remember right, I think it was a Speed Hunters article about one of those guys. Cause I think there's a few of them, and he has like this elaborate fan system that sucks air in the front and then blows it back out
So
the
he can
back
see?
to keep the cabin relatively clear, so he can see what he's doing.
That's awesome. There's some of those cars though that they like the Verts, the RX-7 convertibles.
Yeah.
They like suck smoke back in, and I'm like, these guys drive around with a convertible top down. I'm like, why don't you guys put the top up? There's the red one that we drift with, and then like the purple one. They suck smoke inside the cabin. I'm like, doesn't that just drive you insane and like make you crash into stuff? But nah, they're into it, I guess. I wouldn't want that much tire smoke. It's kind of.
I would build an all-wheel
noxious,
drive drift car.
Okay.
Because
I'll give you that.
I have this like need to be difficult. I would do that.
Put space savers all the way around. You could just get a TT and put space savers on it. All-wheel drive drift car. Boom. Problem solved. You wouldn't make very much smoke though.
No.
And you wouldn't go very
not
fast.
enough smoke.
Probably not enough smoke. And you'd understeer off and into a tree. But
And they wouldn't last very long.
and it was a good idea when it started.
Ask Chris Harris how well that goes.
Yeah, he did that on that. That was an AMG, I think.
Yeah,
And he just
Mercedes.
absolutely demolished him. That's where I got the idea
It's
from.
funny. Like even quarter throttle just lit them up.
Not a clue.
Robbie has no idea what's
Nope.
going on. Let's move on then, Robbie.
We'll wrap this up with another weird automotive thing. Continental wants to remove speakers from the cars and have a new audio system that uses actuators and all of your body panels on the inside.
Adam, you've done speaker things.
I have. Not only have I done speaker things, but I have seen these systems in use at homes.
Oh, bizarre. Okay.
I think
Because this is a thing in home audio already.
yes.
Using actuators to turn walls and stuff like that. And I think they even have one that works underwater. You can hear it in the pool.
I've heard of that in pool.
I've never.
Audio.
To my knowledge, we've never installed one, but I have seen them being demoed.
Okay.
It's surprisingly not terrible. Because you assume it would just have
I
the
would assume it
worst
would sound
clarity
terrible. Yeah.
in the world.
Exactly.
It's surprisingly not terrible. That being said, KISS method. Let's not make this. And cars already have enough problem with panels becoming loose over time.
That's what I was wondering.
When you turn them into vibrating panels, I feel like you're just going to accelerate that.
I really wondered about that. And then I was like, well, but we mount speakers in panels, so maybe it's not any worse than a speaker.
But a lot of times those speakers are dampened by rubber mounts of some level.
Or attached to metal, I suppose.
Or attached straight to metal, not to the door panel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this would work really well for about 2 years.
Which is probably not their concern.
No, they're like, this will save us weight. This will be really good past our warranty period, and then it's your problem.
They don't want you to keep a car like after that.
Yeah.
What do you have to make these panels out of? That's the other question. What's the material?
Yeah, for the 40 pounds you save, it could add probably $1,000.
Yeah, that's the other thing. What did they say that a speaker weighs? It was like 9 tons or something.
Yeah.
That made up a number.
They said
So are they using my old SPL
Yeah, exactly.
setups
It was
or
like,
what?
I don't think a speaker weighs that much anymore.
I have some really heavy speakers, but
I think
I'm
they literally
outside of the norm.
I think they
here.
literally said 40 pounds.
40 pounds is what they said for
per
like,
speaker. I was like,
Per
oh.
speaker?
No, for a full audio
Oh, a
system.
full
for a full
system?
car system. But even
Okay,
that seems
but
high.
you're not going to be able to get rid of the head unit. You're
Nope.
not going to be able to get rid of any external amplification, which means you're only getting rid of speakers. And unless I have like some 30 speaker Bang & Olufsen setup, like what?
They did reference that in the article.
Yeah.
What?
Audi again.
Yeah. The ones that motorize up out of the dash and do all these crazy
I'll give you
things.
40 pounds if it has motors in it to bring it out of the dash. That's ridiculous.
But the average car that has 4, maybe 6, that can't weigh more than a pound or 2 apiece.
Yeah, because your tweeters don't weigh hardly anything.
Speakers are much smaller than they used to be, too, you know?
They don't. Yeah, that
more efficient.
technology has come a long way.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Questioning that.
I think it works great in like a perfect situation. But I think if you put it in like the real wear and tear of a car, long term it's not going to last at all.
What if I put something in my door panel pocket? What's that going to sound like
It's going to sound like dog shit.
That already annoys me.
It's going to
when
vibrate.
it rattles?
Just
vibrates?
driving down the road.
You put a couple things of change in there, it's just going to rattle.
Yeah, for sure.
That's not.
If people are wondering that don't know anything about sound is just waves. So if you vibrate something, it makes sound. If you vibrate it fast enough and at a high enough amplitude,
that's how this theory works.
Yeah. So you're just vibrating stuff with motors. That's all you're doing in this case, as opposed to a magnet.
I have been incredibly surprised at how good that setup can sound in a home audio setup. But it's never going to sound as good as a good quality, probably similarly priced, standard magnetically driven cone style speaker.
And it'd be a really nice cone speaker at that price point.
They're not cheap.
No, especially after install.
Well, doesn't Nissan have like Bose and some of their high end stuff?
Almost everybody does now.
Bose is the worst lie that anybody has ever sold in home or automotive audio ever.
Well, either way,
welcome to your new Bose system.
I don't know. I've never actually had a Bose system, but
you get Bose when you don't want the lows.
Ooh, that's a good one. Bose is all mid range.
Oh, is
it's
it?
terrible.
It's true story.
It's just a lie.
Oh, well, either way, you can get a nice setup.
Harley Davidson of automotive.
Wow.
Jeez.
He's not wrong though.
No,
I'm not. It is a lie. They're terrible. They suck.
That being said, I own a pair of Bose headphones. The only reason I choose those over any other brand of headphones that I've found so far is because of the way they fit. It has nothing to do with the way they sound.
And to be fair, Bose has gotten a lot better in the last 10 years again. But, yeah.
They made a sweet suspension setup at one point.
They did make a sweet Lexus suspension. Yes, I will give them that. And they have very good marketing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have nothing else.
I think that's it. You should go to all of our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages and interact with us.
Please.
10 Tenths Podcast.
Because I have nothing better to do.
Adam will post a thing on there for you guys to argue about. Some of you will be right and some of you will be wrong. What else we got coming up? You should go to our store, 10tentspodcast.com. Check out the website, and you will find our store there with all of our merch. Thank you to people who have purchased things on there recently. What else? We got anything cool coming up you can think of, Adam?
Not really. Maybe a PDX.
Would like to go to that. That's on July.
Have you looked into registering yet?
Yes.
How much is it?
$100.
Okay.
Is that all? $100?
I think so.
I think the last one was like $180 or something.
Oh, this will be the weekend of the 15th at the Iowa Speedway. Drifting at Omaha the 29th.
There's an IndyCar race coming up next Sunday that we will not be at.
On the 9th. No.
But if that's your thing, Corn Indy 250. Actually, that comes out this day when this comes out. So I think that's it. Catch you guys next week. Peace out.